Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
There's a power within you. It lifts your life to its highest level. It brings health, happiness, companionship, success, and peace of mind. As you tap into this power, it will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's why spirituality rocks. Welcome. I'm your host, Janine Burns, and I teach practical spirituality. The world is undergoing a rapid spiritual transformation, and the mission of Spirituality Rocks is to teach New Thought spiritual principles, or what's known as practical spirituality, by bringing you nationally renowned guests and leaders in the New Thought movement. We intend to ignite the power within, we intend to inspire you, and we intend to teach you spiritual principles so you can live a rewarding, productive, and peaceful life experience. So welcome to this episode. Have I got a show for you? With us on Skype today is Dr. Kenn Gordon, and he is the spiritual leader of the Centers for Spiritual Living. On Skype, we have the Reverend Annie Muleman, and she is the spiritual leader of the Center for Spiritual Evolution in Cary, Illinois. But right now, I want to talk to you a little bit about some goodies that we have. We have affirmation cards. And these affirmation cards on the front, they talk about Spirituality Rocks, so that we want you to tune in each week. And on the back are spiritual affirmations. They each start with, I'm divinely guided in all I think, say, and do. There's one about intuition, there's one about success, there's one about health. We are happy to send these to you at no charge. All we do is ask that you send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to Post Office Box 472, Woodbury, New York. The address is on the screen. And so I want to start with our telephone guest. With us today is the Reverend Ann Muleman. Reverend Ann, welcome to Spirituality Rocks.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. My question for you, as is the question for all our phone guests, what spiritual truth or idea have you been focusing upon lately?
Well, I would say that the one thing that has been uppermost in my mind of late is the importance of taking time for meditation and contemplation.
Okay.
Because when we can do that, we are connecting. We are connecting at that point. You know, we're always connected to the divine, to God within. And probably the biggest spiritual truth is that we are all one with that presence.
Okay.
And in order to effectively work from that place in our lives, we need to spend that as much time as we can. Well, I won't say as much time as we can, but we need to spend a quality time each day in that meditation.
That's fantastic. You know, I see, Reverend Saba, you are on film right now. So I want to make sure that I introduce you. I just looked at the monitor.
Yes,
Do you
yes.
know Reverend Ann? Reverend Ann, this is Reverend Saba Mchunguzi. He is with the Unity Church of Healing Light in Huntington, New York. Welcome.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Great being here
Welcome,
once
Reverend
again.
Saba.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So you know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like you're talking about a conscious connection.
Yes, absolutely. If we don't have the conscious connection that we are connected, and that God is all there is, and that we are connected with that at all times, we tend to get distracted about what's going on in life
Okay. So
and what's happening at the human level.
what about this
But
idea
if
of
we remind ourselves of the connection that we have, and that is built in, it's kind of like it builds up, I have always found. You know, we often use the phrase of being prayed up,
okay?
and we're prayed up when we have spent the amount of quality time that's necessary to keep us in that conscious place, a place of conscious connection.
Okay. So conscious connection. Reverend Saba, what do you think about this idea?
Yeah, I think it makes a whole lot of sense because, as Reverend Annie said, we're always connected, but consciously we are so involved in our day-to-day lives and our day-to-day affairs, and we don't realize that that spirit, that power, that presence is always with us and is able to assist us and waiting for us to turn to it.
It seeks expression in us, through us, and as us.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so it's this conscious connection. And I heard you say that it builds. What did you mean?
That it builds?
Yes.
I think that the more we do it, the more it becomes second nature.
Okay.
So it does kind of build within us. It's almost like it's building a storehouse. It's building we're building up reserves
So it's cumulative.
for those places, for those times in our life when we do get distracted and pulled away. It's easier for us to get back to it if we've got the reserves there.
Okay, fantastic. It's easiest to remember to remember.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
We call it practicing the presence.
Right.
Where
Absolutely.
you practice or
Yeah.
you rehearse, and the more you rehearse, the more you practice, then when you need it, so to speak, then it's right there because you have spent the time in practicing, rehearsing, and Scripture talks about abiding and dwelling in the consciousness of God.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad that you brought up this topic of connection with prayer and meditation because our Skype guest, Dr. Kenn Gordon, we're going to talk to him about prayer. And so thank you so much, Reverend Ann Muleman of the Center for Spiritual Evolution over in Cary, Illinois. The web address is on the screen so people can contact you if they choose to. So thank you for joining us on Spirituality Rocks.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Awesome.
All right.
And so stay tuned because we have a fantastic show for you. This will be just a brief break. We'll be right back with Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tom Dow. We have a multidisciplinary practice in Melville and Ronkonkoma, New York, and we treat patients with many, many different conditions, from newborns through geriatric patients with numerous different techniques. There's a technique and a type of treatment for every class of patient. We have them all here. Here's my son Thomas, also a doctor of chiropractic, working on one of our patients' cervical spine. This patient has had chronic neck pain for many, many, many years, has been to a multitude of different practitioners with little or no response. And with our specialized techniques, she has improved tremendously and continues to improve on a daily basis. We have two practices, one in Melville and one in Ronkonkoma, New York. We are a multidiscipline chiropractic office. What that means is we have chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncturists, psychologists, all working as a team and a network of outside professionals such as orthopedists and neurologists that we work hand in hand with to help determine what your injuries are and the best way to treat your injuries. I have the great pleasure of having my son in practice with me. We work hand in hand, father and son, to give our patients the best care possible, and a staff which is loving, caring, and you'll never have to wait at all in our office for service. Many times patients come into our office and they have what's called a soft tissue injury. Soft tissue injuries are like scars inside your body. If you've ever been cut on the outside of your body, you get a scar. The same thing happens inside of your body to your muscles and ligaments. So our job is to determine where those are, stretch the muscles, adjust the vertebra back into their correct position, and then refortify the normal structure with exercise. That's what we do best, and I hope someday you'll come see us at one of our two offices. Thank you.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. Delighted to bring you another fantastic episode. With me in the studio today is the Reverend Saba Mchunguzi, and he is the senior minister over at Unity Center of Healing Light. Welcome to the show.
It's great being here as always.
Good. That's locally. That's in Huntington. We film, by the way, from the Madhouse TV studios. We're over in Deer Park, Long Island, and Huntington is right down the road. So welcome.
Yes.
So I have a show today. I'm very, very excited. We have with us the spiritual leader of the Centers for Spiritual Living, whose responsibility is to bring to the world the teachings of science of mind, which we also know as religious science. And his goal is to awaken humanity in order to create a world that works for everyone. He travels all over the world. He speaks at governmental agencies. He speaks at conferences. And he just speaks about timeless spiritual principles that are relevant and especially relevant for today. He's got a weekly blog. I'm going to ask him the website on that. That's just fantastic. I've been reading it. And also, if you go to the csl.org website, you can see videos. And so, welcome to Spirituality Rocks, Dr. Kenn Gordon.
Thank you, Janine. It's nice to be here.
I'm just thrilled that you're with us today. Tell us the name, please, of the website for which you write your weekly blog.
It's Pathos. You can get it at pathos.com, or perhaps an easier way to get into it to find my particular blog is to go to csl.org, and there's a link that'll take you directly there.
Oh, good. And the banner is on the screen so people can easily take down that information. You know what I really liked about that, Reverend Saba? There's a link. There's a lot of links, but the one that was juicy was the one on inspirational videos. And I had such a wonderful time clicking on, and gosh, Dr. Kenn, you are so articulate, and it just, God expresses through you in such a remarkable way, just like flowed right out. And I understand you do them, how often?
Monthly. We have our head office is based in Golden, Colorado, just outside Denver. And I commute. I live in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. Is where my home is. And I commute once a month to Golden, usually on my way someplace else. These days I'm traveling a couple hundred days of the year. So.
Oh, wow. And you travel to speak in other spiritual communities, etc.?
Conferences, spiritual communities, symposiums, workshops, all different types of things, all over the world.
And I know formerly that you were a co-pastor of the Center for Spiritual Living in, is it Kelowna? How do you pronounce where you live in British Columbia?
Kelowna, British Columbia. Kelowna, as in Jerry Kelowna, as Dr. Tom Costa, my teacher, used to say. So, Kelowna.
Oh, Dr. Tom Costa was your teacher?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, love, love, love Dr. Tom Costa. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful New Thought teacher. Now, what I'd like to start with, because I've got some questions for you, I want to start with this idea of oneness. I wonder if people new to spirituality really understand what is this idea of oneness and what does it mean?
Well, the idea of oneness is there's really only one thing happening, and that is spirit individualized through us. It is manifesting itself in everyone who's here. I mean, basically, if you actually stop and think about it, what we are is we're essentially energy. We happen to be able to see it in form, and it looks like something, but the reality is we're made of the same stuff, and we come from the same intelligence. There's only one intelligence, and that's the intelligence of spirit itself. And what we do as human beings, and what we do in our teachings, both Unity and Centers for Spiritual Living, and all the other traditions that exist in the world today, what we do is we work on awakening and enlarging the individual so that they might be able to grasp a greater picture of not only who they are, but what life is about. Thomas Troward said, and I don't usually have a quote, but I happen to be writing today, but he said, it's a mathematical truism that you cannot contract the infinite, and that you can expand the individual. And it is practicing through this that evolution works. And that's precisely what we're about, is moving into a direction where what we're doing is we are assisting the conscious evolution of humanity. And part of that assistance is to realize that anything that happens anytime, any place, anywhere in the world, on some level must happen to all of us. And so therefore what we attempt to do is bring ourselves into an alignment with that certainty and that knowledge and that knowing. And in so doing, it develops within us our inherent compassion, our inherent caring, and our inherent love and the light that we are. St. Paul in the Bible, it's said, or it's written, that he said we should pray without ceasing. And I can remember being a child going to a traditional Sunday school and hearing that and not being able to understand what went through it. Pray without ceasing. Does that mean that all 7.5 billion of us on this planet should spend all of our time in doing nothing but prayer? And then I have that mental picture of bowing and kneeling or sitting in a cave somewhere in meditation or contemplation. And it was only when I discovered metaphysics and discovered the New Thought movement and began to look into the actual pertinent meanings of some of the things that are said that I came to realize that what Paul was talking about when he said pray without ceasing was he was talking about turning your every thought into a prayer. Putting forward an idea or an ideal in humanity that it just might be possible for us to live our lives thinking in the same way that we would choose to pray. And so when I walk down the street and see someone and have a negative thought about them, I have to ask myself, would I really consciously, as our previous guest was talking about, would I really consciously pray for that individual? And the truth is, in most cases, no. So my practice, when we talk about prayer, we talk about unity, we talk about oneness, we talk about evolution and consciously becoming awake, my practice really is to watch my thoughts and my conscious activity in my mind, not from a point of view of judging or criticizing it, but from a point of view of attempting to put it into alignment with what I want and what I would pray for, as opposed to what shows up in my mind in its willy-nilly little monkey way.
Ooh, willy-nilly little monkey way. And that's really so accurate, because notice how our mind jumps from here to
Right,
here.
right.
And often we do make judgments. I found for me, when I began studying New Thought, or it's also called, for our new viewers, it's called Science of Mind, it's called Religious Science. New Thought is the denomination of which Unity is a part of. I realized and learned quickly to just step out of judgment. That was one of the first things I learned, and gosh, did that change my life. You know, to just stop condemning and not to criticize, and just to allow, and to, as Dr. Kenn just said, you know, what thought do I want to be putting out there? Well, that's not a quote of what he said, but that's what I interpreted of what he said. Is, you know, where is my consciousness, and what am I thinking, and where are my thoughts heading?
Right, right. And Jesus said, judge not by appearances.
Right.
Which means when you look at something, don't judge it by the way it looks,
Right.
because there's more to it than the way it looks. And we need to look beyond the appearances and lift our consciousness as well, lift our consciousness beyond
Right.
the things that are going on, and things that we see, and things that people are doing, and things that people are even saying to us. So it's, you know, it's really a matter of understanding as well. We go back to the idea of oneness, that we are one with our good, even though our good may not appear to be manifesting
Currently.
at the present time.
Right.
Exactly.
And we've recently, Dr. Kenn, had on the show people who did the works of
Emma Curtis Hopkins.
Thank you. Emma Curtis Hopkins. And the reason I thought of that is because the word God and the word good
Good.
were synonymous.
Yes,
And so when
yes.
we're talking about God, we're talking about our good.
Good,
And so, you know, people will call and say, yes, but, you know, just there's so much negativity around and my thoughts are negative. And so in New Thought, what we do is we encourage them to pray. And we encourage what we call affirmative prayer, where we don't beg, cajole, or plead a power outside of us to do something for us or to us. We identify and become one with the power within. Could you, Dr. Kenn, speak to us on the topic of prayer?
I'd love to. It probably is the dominant spiritual practice that I utilize, because I use it to direct what it is that I do and where I'm going. And it doesn't always have to be traditional. I always remember a practitioner, somebody who is trained in doing spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, who told the story to me once. I think she was a student of Terry Cole Whitaker, but she was driving down the street and she got in a terrible car accident. Her car was totally totaled. And when she was asked afterwards how she managed to survive and walk away from it, she said that she went immediately to prayer. And as a young practitioner, my immediate thought was, most car accidents that I've been involved in haven't given me that much time to do it.
Right.
But she said that what she did was she immediately just went to peace. Now, we teach a traditional way to be able to pray. And most of us in our society, in the Christian society or in the Western society, have learned something about prayer. And if we've had any contact whatsoever with religion, we've probably heard about it. And that is, there is a trained way to be able to treat someone to pray, but the way that it's being taught is not necessarily the way that it's being done, because it's about your feelings as much as your thoughts. It's about where your attitude goes with it. I have a friend, Dr. Jim Terrell, out of California, who once told me, he said that when he teaches a practitioner how to do treatment, he uses the standard traditional 5 steps to do it, which really are the recognition of spirit, the unification of you and spirit, the realization, that which you want, the gratitude that follows that, and then the release and the surrender. Those are the 5 basic steps of spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer, and religious science. And what he said was he was talking to the person, and he said, you know, the object here is not to teach you those 5 steps so that you know what they are. The object is to teach you to go to a place that is connected immediately as opposed to somewhere else. And he gave the example, which I thought was brilliant. He gave the example of teaching his child how to drive a car when they turn 16. And he said, you know, when I go out with my daughter to teach her how to drive a car, I sit there next to her and I say, okay, let the clutch out, put the brake on, turn to the right, turn to the left, and I guide her and direct her on how to do it. But after she's driven for about 5-10 years, you know as well as I do that you don't even think about it. It's just an automatic place to go to as you're driving your car. You don't think about having to change gears, or you don't think about having to turn. It's already part of who you are. It's the innate part. And that's exactly what we do with spiritual mind treatment and with affirmative prayer, is teach people to be able to go there first, so that that's their first place that they go, and it becomes so natural and so habitual with them that it's an automatic for them. It is, as the earlier minister was talking about, it is the conscious awareness of that, and yet we break all the bad habits and allow a new habit to come in, and that new habit is the one that really guides and directs us, because that's what we respond from in times of need.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
that was a mouthful.
That was juicy, as I like to say. What I love about affirmative prayer is that for someone who doesn't know how to pray, is that religious science or science of mind actually teaches those steps that you spoke of, which, again, I just want to repeat that you recognize there's one presence in power. You unify with it, so then you say it expresses in me, through me, and as me. And then you have the realization of that which you choose to experience in your life. And then a sense of gratitude, and then you just release, allowing the action of God, the law of mind, to work on manifesting the prayer. What you said that I think is especially critical is the feeling. When I used to teach classes, I would teach the students that feeling is the fuel that propels thought and prayer into manifestation. And you spoke of it before when you spoke about energy. Could you talk to us a little bit about this idea of energy and feeling as it relates to prayer?
Yeah, I certainly will. A lot of people, when they pray, are caught up in praying for a form that they think they want, but that might not be the form that is for them, in my experience. And there's no problem with that.
What does that mean?
If somebody,
What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
well, somebody comes to me for a consultation or for prayer,
Okay.
and they tell me, let's say a middle-aged man, and he tells me that what he wants is a red sports car. Will I pray for the red sports car for him? And the answer is sure, I'll pray for the red sports car for him, but that's probably not what he really wants. What he really wants is the feeling that's connected to the red sports car.
Got it.
The feeling of freedom, the feeling of youth, and all adventure. Those things all come together. So what I attempt to do with my clients is to take them to a place where they get in connection with the feeling and they get rid of the form on the outside. So that what they can do is they can treat for the feeling. Because I'll tell you, they know what the feeling is. They think they know what is necessary to fulfill the feeling. But there's a power, the power we talk about, that exists in this universe, that if you treat for the feeling and lay yourself open for it, everything that's required to fulfill that feeling will enter into your life and will enter into your circumstances to do it. And it might not come with an insurance bill or a driver's license or a large payment for a car.
Right.
It might come in a simpler, easier way. My experience personally is most of the form that I've received, that I've gotten in my life, isn't what I really want. What I want is that sense of connection. What I want is that sense of fulfillment, that sense of productivity, that sense of love, that sense of light, that sense of joy. And so for me personally, and for the clients who deal with me, what I seek to do, pardon me, what I seek to do is I seek to make them in contact with the deeper feeling and then allow the universe itself to outpicture what it is that's going to fill that feeling, as opposed to us trying to figure out how it works. There is a power that knows how all this stuff works and works through us in perfection. I kiddingly tell my students that they should utilize that power, that oftentimes it doesn't work so good for us. And so I tell them that I tried to put together an oak tree, but I couldn't get the molecules to fit. But there is a power that knows in perfection how to do that.
Right, exactly.
Good.
So then, it sounds then that, let's say that you wanted a house, you wanted a new home. So then if a new home, if you thought about what that would represent, let's say a new home would represent peace, security, comfort, beauty, then would you say that you would start and pray for those qualities or aspects?
Yes, that's exactly what I would do. What I do, I have a somewhat different program with my prayer than other people. And what I'll do is I will ask them to enter into a meditation, and I will guide them to get to a connection of feeling of what it is that they want in their life and a time that they've had it, so that they can actually have a sense, let's say, of abundance or of prosperity or fulfillment or love. And once they have that feeling, then I get them to symbolize it with a word, telling them that the word means nothing. All it is their symbol for what it is that it means. And so then once they've created the symbol, it might be joy, let's say, then what I do is I do my treatment work around that symbol of joy for them, because that's the feeling that they really want to encompass and have in their life. And I will share with you, I've had huge success with it, and so have my clients. And the reason is because most of us could have anything that we want if we were only clear and aware enough as to what it is that we want. We have a tendency to spend way too much of our time in what we don't want rather than what we do want. We have something that occurs in our life that is not like what it is that we want to have. And what we do is we build it into a huge mountain, and we don't spend any energy on what our vision or focus or intention or our desire is. And so what I attempt to do is set in mind the reasoning that if they spent more energy in what it is that they desired and less energy in what it is that they didn't desire, then what it is that they would desire would expand and be attracted and grow to them, as opposed to the other way around.
Right, and isn't that what we do? We think about what we don't want, what we don't work, and to literally make that switch. And I know when I first began, like a gazillion 999 years ago, I actually would write down on a piece of paper to help myself and to support myself. If I found I would first become aware that I was being negative, thinking about what I don't want, I'd pull out my little piece of paper and I'd get myself back on track to what I do want.
Good,
yeah,
good,
I think
good.
that was very well spoken. You know what? It's already time for another commercial break. But don't go too far, because we're going to be back with more of Dr. Kenn Gordon, who is the spiritual leader of the Centers for Spiritual Living on Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
My name is Dr. Robert Brevard. I'm here for Multi-Medicine in Westbury, New York. We're located at 1065 Old Country Road, Suite 214. Been here for about 15 years. The practice has medical doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. We also do pain management, and we have orthopedists on staff. Here at Advanced Multi-Medicine Rehabilitation, we've got physical therapists on staff who treat an array of conditions, from neck pain to back pain, shoulder pain. We treat carpal tunnel. We treat a lot of car accident patients, slip and falls. We treat patients with knee injuries, with ankle injuries. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We've been here for over 15 years. A vast array of diagnostic testing, from x-rays to EMGs. What is an EMG? It's a diagnostic test that allows a doctor to determine where the pinched nerve is. Cora is a physical therapist at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. She's working on Stephanie, who was involved recently in an automobile accident. Stephanie has tight thoracic and cervical musculature, and Cora is doing some myofascial release work and some therapeutic stretching, doing it to help her with her pain. Vicky is also a patient here at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. Vicky is now working her leg muscles, specifically her quadricep muscles, trying to strengthen them after an injury she sustained. If you find yourself in need of any type of physical therapy, please don't hesitate to call Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation, located in Westbury, New York, in Suite 214. Phone number is 516-334-7000, or find us on our website at advancedmultimedicine.com.
I am Tom Mealy for the Harrison Law Group, and I have been telling you for years that getting involved in an automobile accident is no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. If you've been involved in an accident of any kind and you go to a law firm that says you have no case, it's simple. It's because they can't do it and they don't get it. You need to call us directly at 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Are you planning an event and want to include entertainment, but you're not sure where to turn? Act1Entertainment.net has provided over 1,500 events with quality, affordable live entertainment at private parties, corporate affairs, festivals, bike rallies, and more. Act 1 will fit into your budget. They're friendly, reliable, and do all the legwork for you. They take all major credit cards. Log on to Act1Entertainment.net for a free, no-obligation price quote, or call 631-758-3505 for a brochure. You'll be happy you did.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, and I am just so happy today because I am here in the studio with the Reverend Saba Mchunguzi of Unity Church of Healing Light. That is in Huntington, Long Island, New York. We film live from the Madhouse TV studios in Deer Park. And on Skype, we have with us Dr. Kenn Gordon. And we have been having a fantastic and deep discussion. Yeah, on affirmative prayer, which is also called spiritual mind treatment. We briefly touched on how it's done. There is a particular technique that is taught. And right now, Dr. Kenn has agreed to do an affirmative prayer for peace of mind and success. So Dr. Kenn Gordon, take it away.
Thank you. It's neat, Janine, too, that your producer reminded us that it's Prayer Awareness Day. So that's quite fascinating. So
yes.
In honor of Prayer Awareness Day, let's pray together.
Thank you.
So first off, what I would have and suggest that we do is that we be receptive to this. And let's know that this treatment, this prayer, is for every person who's within the edge and the sound of our consciousness, who is accepting and willing to receive it and embrace it. So here's what I can know. I speak my word from the first person, and you may accept these words as your own if you choose. I believe in God and absolutely nothing else. I recognize and know that I'm unified with this power that I call God or Spirit, and I allow that it works through me and for me in everything and all things. I know that I am connected to it, for I know that it is infinite, and that as an infinite being, there cannot be two infinites, therefore I must be part of it. Accepting, understanding, and appreciating this, I speak my word right now for anyone within the range of my voice or my consciousness who is receptive to it. I speak my mind knowing that it is the goodness and the greatness of Spirit itself that manifests through the success of our being and the success of our life. And that success draws and attracts to us everything and all things that are required in order to live and feel and be a peaceful person. I speak my word knowing that the higher power that is who you are, that is the truth of your being, operates in you in such a way that even as I speak these words, it dissolves and dissipates anything that is unlike itself, leaving behind only a sense of completeness, a sense of belonging, a sense of connectivity, a sense of productivity, a sense of fulfillment that overrides any and all other feelings. I know that this manifests in its activity and actions right here and right now, and that there is absolutely nothing that is required to be done in order to make it so. For I can recognize and know that within every person and within myself that is hearing this treatment, that that power is moving in such a way that it brings forward and presents into everyone's life that which is unlike itself, which is dissipated and dissolved, leaving behind that sense of truth that is our birthright and who we are born to be. For I speak my word for this, knowing that each and every one of us are individualizations of that spirit, and that our core being, our core belief, our core essence is that of spirit itself. I therefore call upon this power to eradicate and dissolve any false beliefs or ideas that would block my sense, my knowing, my understanding, and my embracing my own success and my own peacefulness. Accepting that this is done already, I simply give gratitude that this is already the truth. And I surrender it back into that universal mind, which some call God, some call spirit. And I allow that it is my truth, and I await it with expectation and anticipation. I let go and I let God, and so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Amen.
And so it is.
Wow.
Fantastic.
That was awesome.
Yes.
I have such a sense of enthusiasm and an expectancy right now, Dr. Kenn. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And I'm just so pleased that you were able to do that, because I want people to really understand that affirmative prayer is just that. There was a brief section in there where he's denied, and a step called denial, where we just say, anything unlike the truth, anything like the goodness of God is eliminated. But the whole prayer was a focus on this idea of oneness, connection, and experiencing, speaking of that which you choose to experience. And this kind of prayer works. I have a friend who is an archaeologist. He's a scientist. And he's a real believer in prayer, but he's really grappled because he's asked me to pray, and he just doesn't understand it. But I prayed for him one time. He had some stents put in, and I said, everything's in divine order. The doctors are going to it's going to be like there's a road map. And then after the surgery, the doctor said to him, it was like I had a road map. And he was so excited about that. And I've prayed for him many times. And he says, I just can't figure it out, because I'm a scientist, but it works. Now, we call New Thought, one of the philosophies called religious science. How do you justify that? How do you rationalize using the word religious and science in one phrase?
Well, I rationalize it because we deal with laws, the same as science does. And what we're attempting to do is we're attempting in our lives to be able to find the law of life, the law of mind that works consistently and constantly, not just for one, but for everyone and for all things at the same time. And that's what brings it or allows it to be considered a science. At least when Dr. Holmes began this in 1927, that was the way it was looked upon. That there's a huge difference between spirituality and religion. Religion is really dealing with the dogma and the doctrine of the organization. And not everyone in the world has religion, but everyone in this planet has spirituality. They have a level and a connectivity with that which is there. And once we learn how to use the rules and the laws that are in place around it, such as what you think about comes about, then at that particular point, we get to begin to guide and direct it in our lives, not only for our benefit, but for the benefit of everyone who's around us as well. And I think that if more people did it, then we would have a world that works for everyone, because we would remove and rise above a lot of our own neuroses, which keeps us stuck in place, our own belief systems of limitation and lack, which keeps us in fear. And I think that that's the motion and the movement that we're moving towards all the way through.
Absolutely.
And I'm a prime supporter of it. I think it's time our world changed.
I'm so with you on that. In fact, in the Long Island area, I perform a lot of celebration of life memorial services. And actually, people call it SBNR, spiritual but not religious. Many, many, many people describe themselves as that. And you would be astonished how many phone calls that I receive from people who want these services, especially when I took the time last year to go to the funeral directors and talk to them about what that meant, spiritual but not religious. So many people do call themselves that, and it is such a growing trend. And you know what? It's time for a commercial break already. So it'll be just really brave. Stay tuned. Don't go far, because we'll be right back with Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am
YesWeCare.net is a 501c3 charity that provides help to veterans and their families. Please visit YesWeCare.net and donate in any way you can by purchasing our beautiful frame prints or relaxation CDs and DVDs, even smooth jazz CDs. YesWeCare.net. Remember, our troops are on their way home. They need all the support they can get. YesWeCare.net.
I am Tom Mealy for the Harrison Law Group, and I have been telling you for years that getting involved in an automobile accident is no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. If you've been involved in an accident of any kind and you go to a law firm that says you have no case, it's simple. It's because they can't do it and they don't get it. You need to call us directly at 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, reminding you that if you would like to have some affirmation cards that we give to you because we want to support your spiritual growth and development, just send a self-addressed stamped envelope to GLF, Guiding Light Foundation, at Post Office Box 472 in Woodbury, New York. Also, for a $10 tax-deductible donation, we are pleased to send you Tunes for Transformation, spiritual affirmation jingles, and this was created when I used to be the leader of a spiritual community, a New Thought Spiritual Center. And what I did was I set my affirmations to jingles, And I'm very proud to say that Deepak Chopra said that I deliver powerful affirmations in a fresh new way to uplift, inspire, and create positive change. So you can get this too. We appreciate that. And so I want to reintroduce to you to my in-studio guest. This is the Reverend Saba Mchunguzi. He is my friend, and I love Reverend Saba. He is the spiritual leader of the Unity Church of Healing Light. We are in Long Island, New York. That is in Huntington. Come on out and see us. There are very few spiritual communities out here on the eastern part of the United States.
New Thought spiritual
New
communities.
Thought ones,
Absolutely.
right. Yeah,
Absolutely.
New Thought ones. As opposed to our guest on Skype, who's the spiritual leader of the Centers for Spiritual Living, Dr. Kenn Gordon. He lives in British Columbia, and he said he comes once a month to, I believe it was Denver, was it?
Yes, Golden.
Yeah, Golden. And so there's, there's so many New Thought spiritual communities throughout the West Coast. And I believe, was it Dr. Bitzer who Dr. Ernest Holmes sent out? Of course, Dr. Ernest Holmes is founder of this philosophy, Signs of Mind, and that book. If you don't have that book, Signs of Mind, I encourage you to get it. That is a wonderful, wonderful book. I think he encouraged Dr. Bitzer to go out and start churches on the West Coast. Is that true?
Dr. Holmes was based out of the West Coast, out of Los Angeles, actually. He encouraged Raymond Charles Barker to go to New York City and start the church.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
He charged Barker to go to the East Coast. They were out in the West, and he encouraged them to come to the East Coast. Yeah. And then that was, what a thriving community in New York City. And then Stuart Grayson was there for many years. Did you know Dr. Stuart Grayson?
Yes, I knew Dr. Barker and Dr. Grayson.
Both of them, yeah. I took classes with Dr. Grayson. It was fantastic. Good, good, good. So we just have a little bit of time left on the show. And I would like to talk just a little bit more of this idea of prayer being cumulative. And the reason is when you began the prayer before and you invited us to go within and you invited us to get centered, I just took a deep breath and I found myself immediately going to what I call prayer land. I found myself, and I guess it's from so much repetition of prayer, that I could instantly get centered. Please comment on that.
It's a golden key, and it takes practice. We have a lot of habits in our life that we've utilized and we've gone through for various ways and various things in our lives, and they have a tendency to be overpowering. I know myself that sometimes, or years ago when I used to go on holidays, I used to think, I don't have to do my spiritual practice when I'm on holidays. And sure enough, I'd be gone for 6 weeks, and I'd come back, and I'd already be back into the old, as my grandfather used to call it, stinking thinking.
Oh.
And I'd fall back into the old habits and the old way of doing it. What you're talking about is the golden key. You're talking about getting that phrase that you've done so many times that has taken you with a lot of effort and energy to get to that place of unity and connectivity, of being able to just call upon it and feel it. I've got the same thing. I bet you 90% of my treatments begin with I believe in God and absolutely nothing else. And the reason is I've been doing it for 30 years, and the minute that I say it, all the tension in my shoulders dissolves, and there is something that just opens up within me that is receptive to it. And in the early days of learning how to pray and how to treat, I did not have that level of connectivity. But practice makes perfect. Or as Johnny Coleman says, it works if you work it. And so, I have people doing spiritual practices every single day. I won't tell you what my practices are because they would probably bore you, but it's so important to spend a little bit of time every day to take care of yourself, to put that into activity and action and help you break the old habits that you've had. And when I do that, what happens is my day runs smoothly and I have an expectation and I have a much easier time staying on course. Dr. Holmes said that our job in life is not necessarily to always be on course, but it's to be on course, off course, on course, off course, on course, off course, which is pretty much how it operates with me. So I can't support spiritual practice, daily spiritual practice enough. I think that for me it's one of the most transformative things that I've done in my life.
Absolutely. And you remind me of what you just said of an airplane. Airplane is a constant course correction. So getting us back to center, getting us back to the awareness of one presence, one power. Lately, Reverend Saba,
Yes, yes.
I've been focusing a lot on the word ease.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is that? What?
Why is that? Why is that? Probably because some people that I really, really love, a few people that I really, really love, my friend Mary Tumpkin, my dad, my assistant passed away. And through the process of grief and mourning and doing it as consciously as possible, that word ease has come forth to me, that I just want to be in the flow of life and paying attention to that. What is something that you have been, in terms of your prayer, focusing upon? You've been praying for?
Healing.
Healing.
Yes, physical healing. And I think about the early days of the New Thought movement.
Okay.
Mid 1800s, late 1800s, early 20th century, when there appeared to be a lot more physical healings taking place within the community. And so just now, as I get more mature in terms of life and years and so on, I realize that things are going on in my body, and I'm more aware of the idea of physical healing, of wanting to be physically healed, and of seeing other people who are going through things in their physical body. And I'm saying, well, healing is possible, regardless of what the physical body is saying or what the physical body is doing.
So in taking into consideration what Dr. Kenn was speaking about earlier in the show, so then you've been praying for wholeness?
Yes,
and
wholeness
peace?
and peace and energy,
vitality.
And vitality and all of that in every part of my body and for others as well. So that's been a very important thing for me recently, and going forward it will continue to be so as I lift my consciousness and realize that healing is possible for myself and others.
Right, and it's our nature to be perfect, whole, and complete.
Absolutely.
That's our nature.
Yes. Yes.
So, Dr. Kenn, my producer just gave me the high sign. So we just have 2 minutes left. Is there a particular parting word or some ideas that you'd like to leave with the people?
Off the top of my head,
yes,
I would probably say that what I would like to see everyone do is I would like them to develop the source of a new idea. Raymond Charles Barker told me once, he said that when he had conflict in his life, he would go into his den and close the door, and he said, "Barker, you need a new idea." I think that in order to create a world that works for everyone, we need to do is we need to begin to question everything that's happening and occurring in our lives and in the world around us, not from a point of view of whether or not we can do it, but from a point of view of whether or not it's worth doing. And I believe that we're in time right now of huge change in the world, and this fear of change that our society has prevented us from experiencing some wonderful things in the world. And I think that it's time that we all realize that we can make this a beautiful world that does work for everyone by merely letting go of some of the old stuff that we think is so dear and accepting some new ideas and situations into our lives.
Fantastic. Dr. Kenn Gordon, spiritual leader of the Centers for Spiritual Living, thank you so much for joining us on Spirituality Rocks.
Thank you, Janine.
Fantastic to have you with us. And I want to remind the viewing audience, you can go to csl.org and check out all the different links. There's that inspirational videos, lots of good things. Join us. Tell your friends about Spirituality Rocks on Facebook, and let them know about our upcoming shows. We have Dennis Merritt Jones coming up. Judith Kravitz, the founder of Transformational Breath, is going to be with us, and on and on. And so we thank you so much for joining us this week. Reverend Saba Mchunguzi, thank you so much.
Yes. Always a pleasure.
All right, and we'll see you soon. Again, look for you next week on Spirituality Rocks.
Bless.